Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's June 3rd. This will be our chart lesson for today, and in the end, it's just a range day. I'll clean this up a little bit, but you can see the trends up and down basically here, um, and you really had to hone in on the shorter term stuff to get to a small enough level to where you could get an accurate read. But early on, we had this leg up in the overnight into the regular session open. So once we started higher, I'd want to measure that up and look for a possible measured move. And you can see we had the two legs up. We didn't quite get there. Notice too that that measured move is right back up to this upper trend channel line, but we didn't get there. A lot of times you'll get it when you don't reach a target like that. It'll usually sell off harder in the other direction. You can see that's kind of what happened. But in the end, this is a range day. And it's two-tiered, and you can see the upper tier is right there. And then when we drop down, you'd want to look for a possible measured move. And so that puts you down to right in there. And that's exactly where we bounced multiple times before we did push on in through a little further. But when we came back and we closed, I think the closing line is, actually we hadn't closed yet, so we're going to close somewhere right here in the middle of the range basically. So it's only 3:13 or 14, I think. So we got a couple more minutes before the market actually closes. So really in the end, this is just a range day. But you can see this two-tiered channel, prices are playing off the lines. The midline, it's just we didn't get there here, and when we came back, we went straight through, and that's not a good sign, really. I would have also measured this leg down, and then once we started lower from there, I'd look for another measured move, and you can see we got within a few ticks of that before we reversed. So that would have been a good target to kind of shoot for on the way back down there. Actually, once you bounced here a few times, you probably would have exited, so it wouldn't have made much difference. And you probably would have said, I'm not too, you probably wouldn't want to be that concerned with that measured move by then because we bounced a few times here. Of course, by the time you measured that down, we only bounced once, and we did make a lower high and head down again. So secondary, you would want to measure this leg and look for a measured move. And you can see we basically got that almost to the tick. And we actually had a little channel working down. We got a break, two legs, and a new low, and then off we went to back up. So that would have been a great target there. And generally your more near-term swings, meaning this is more recent than this original big leg over here. So these will usually give you a more accurate picture of your measured moves, although a lot of times those will work out to be the same thing these others work out to be. So I'm going to take these measured moves off just to clean this up. This is a little bit messy, but this was definitely in play, but we didn't quite get to the high. And you can see when we came back to the midline, we pushed through, came back and tested it a few times, and then went on down. Here's where we would have been looking for something to happen, but it just shot right on through. And once that happened, I would have just taken this off. Wouldn't have been that concerned with it. And that cleans it up a little bit. So, but you would have played that larger one early on. It didn't really give you much to work with other than maybe when we came back through on the midline. But other than that, it didn't give you a whole lot to work with. So you really had to narrow into this shorter term stuff anyway. So having said that, let's back out where you can see the bars a little better and go over the trades. You got to be patient here. There was some stretches where we didn't have, there just weren't many setups and so forth. So, but that's, that's the way trading is. So, but early on we had what looks like a spiking channel here. There's probably a shorter term move in here too, but this was the one. I mean, this happened so early that by the time you got here, this would have been in play, this spike. We spiked up into a two-tiered channel basically. And you can see prices, that channel's fitting nicely there. We actually had a little close outside, moved to a new high, and then we sold off here, and then we started that next leg up. But let's talk about the trades and move along here. I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger. Notice that we made a new swing low here. This one's a little lower, and this really confirmed this trend line right here. But this is real early, maybe between 5 and 6 o'clock. And so we move up, we make a first entry short, we try to go higher again, we make a second entry short, and we fail, and we turn up again right there at the trend line, at the EMA. It's a second entry long. It's not a very good signal bar, but the fact that it's a failed second entry short makes it a little better trade there. So I don't have any problem going long above that bar with it being a failure, and off it goes. We do come back again here, but not a very good signal bar. You're not even back to the trend line there, really. We've already had a break and a new high, so I just don't think you want to enter anywhere up here. I don't see anything that I'd be willing to risk up here except a short. And notice we got the break and a good move, quite a move up, and plus you've got this shorter term red trend line moving up. You could have looked at this as a double bottom, and you had a first entry here, and so you would have had a second up here, but I don't think you want to enter up here regardless. You're so far away from the EMA, your congestion, just not a very good setup. So you're better off to wait. And then of course you get a break outside this red or brown channel here, the shorter term one. Move to a new high, and you try to go higher once, twice, and you fail, and that kind of confirms that little downtrend line. Normally I'd probably say you'd want to sit tight on this because this is an uptrend, and so this one you could argue for this to be green, but you still got a lot about a good bit of room back to the EMA and the trend line, and we're way overdue to come back. So with this being a failure, you may want to take that trade. It's a little bit it's a little bit aggressive. The only reason I like it is because you failed to go higher twice, and you're still away from that EMA, and you've long overdue to come back to it and the trend line. So you could almost expect to get a scalp out of that if you're reading it right, if it is a failure, which it does turn out to be a failure. And but you could argue for that to be green. So there's actually a third touch of, you come back to this trend line again here a couple more times, but now you're right at the trend line and the EMA, and you don't want to go short there. It's a shame that it didn't break higher and give a little trap or something right here, because this turns out to be an excellent move. But if you didn't get in right here, you just got to watch this trade go. Then of course we come back to the trend line again, and there is a second entry short there. It's horrible bar on mine, a little bit of congestion there, but we should understand why there's congestion there, because you're coming back to resistance area here of this trend line. And there's also, we didn't really know it at the time, but there's the midline of the range right there too, and you can see that's right where that dotted line is the midline of the range coming across there. And so that probably played a part into it as well, but you probably wouldn't have been able to know that at that point because we didn't really have enough price action to figure that out yet. So we'd still be playing, we'd just be playing this trend line coming down. This is like another little spike and two-tiered channel coming down here. And it is second, but if you had a good setup here with a good signal bar, I wouldn't have any problem taking that short. But with that signal bar of mine, I'm not going to take that. And then you try to go higher once, try to go higher twice, so you can look at that as a failed second entry long. It's basically a double top, lower than this. It's right off the EMA. It's the first break of this two-tiered channel, and so I like that one. And your hope is that it keeps going and maybe makes two legs down, but it doesn't. It only makes one leg down and it reverses. And you get somewhat of a reversal pattern here, but it's right into the EMA, and you may get another leg down, so you don't really want to take that trade. Then it comes up here and it gives you a failed second entry short, but you're still way away from the EMA. You're getting a break of this short-term trend line. It's just not a very good setup. So, and then you just start kind of going sideways. And so you don't want to enter in this congestion. This is just a little sideways congestion. No real setups here. If you start looking for failures and second entries, they all whip. You just get whiplash there. So just stay out of that. It's pretty obvious there's some resistance right there, so you don't want to be going long into that. And this is looking like a reversal, so you don't want to be going short here out of this tight congestion either. So just sit tight, and then of course it pushes up and pulls back, and you get a little breakout pull back long. So you might consider going long there. Again, it's not a very good setup. You may have this shorter term trend line, and it finally comes back here and gives you a failed second entry short, because that's a new low. It's lower than that swing low. First entry, and then you get a second leg up, second entry, it fails, and you get a little pull back there to the trend line. So you might take that one. Again, it's not a very good, it's not, you've been away from the EMA, you're away from the trend line, although we do have it. The other side is a good bit up here. There's plenty of room to go. So you may want to take that failure. It turns out to be a good move, but again, it's just not something that you got to be really careful, because it's easy to get burned here. So anyway, you push on up, and you get your first break, and you get a second entry long here. Again, you're not even back to the EMA, but notice that trend line, that little trend channel. That's the first break, and it is a second entry long. It's just not a very good setup, but you may take that one. Just looking for it to push up to a new high, and of course that's what it does. It's an easy scalp, but you don't get anything more out of it. And then of course we come down here, and you get this channel working back. But notice how you get this break. You would expect to try to go back and make a new high, but you don't really ever get a setup, and you actually get a failure here. Notice you're coming back, and that's basically a double top. So you get a little, you really could look at that as a failed second entry long. Notice that first entry and second entry, and then you make another lower high right here, and it kind of confirms that trend line. Nice bearish bar, and that is a second entry short. Notice first entry and then second entry right there. It was a second entry when it broke lower there, so when it tried to go higher again and failed, you got to figure, hey, you're probably trapping some people to the wrong side here, and you should get another leg down at least like this. And of course it takes off, and it bounces off the low side, comes back. There's a second entry short right there. Again, I don't have a very good signal bar, so when it comes back right here, okay, I had a little interruption there. We were coming down through, I think we were talking about this trade, and I think I must have accidentally marked that trade by accident. So I'm gonna, there's no setup there, so I don't know why I marked that trade. I'm gonna just delete that. I think I put that there by accident. I think it should have been right here, and I must have accidentally dropped 2 in there or something. So anyway, you got a new high here, first entry, second entry, and this actually broke higher and touched the trend line and went out the other side. I like going short right there, one tick below that one on a failed second entry long, and you could actually look at that as a double test from this high, double testing that trend line, that resistance point, and it dropping on down. And this thing just keeps going. There's the problem is you can't get short right here, because this could be a midline, but it might just be your trend channel line, and it might be getting an overshoot. So you can't go short right there yet. And then if you go ahead and make a equal distance, it just keeps going from that too. I think your equal distance is right in there somewhere. Right about there, and you can see it just keeps going. Yeah, you can actually see it comes back and retest it again there. So I just think you got a big overshoot here, and really the way what you ought to be playing is this trend line, and with this being an overshoot, I don't see anything. I mean, this is a pretty good setup, and this confirms it right here with 2 legs down, but I just think that's too risky to go short right there, right into that low. And I just don't see anything through there I like, and it's a shame that you have to sit there and watch that. But if you're playing this right, you just don't have any other options. So it's too big a risk entering down here this far away and this long away against the EMA. And at this point, we don't know this is a range day for sure. So it's just really hard to know what's going on through here. And then you get a little two-legged correction. And again, this actually breaks higher and turns and goes out the other side. Or you could have just waited on this bar to close and even gone short right there. Although you're getting close, really close to the EMA right there. And you may bounce, which it does bounce, but it turns and keeps going down. So, but I like that one just because there's a trap, and it looks like a repeat pattern almost of this little setup we just had up the top of this pattern. We broke higher and turned back down, and it looks a lot like that, except this is also a second entry short as well. You get a lower high right here, not a very good signal bar, really bullish bar, and of course we bounce down here. You might consider going long here on the second entry long with this small bar right at the support level, because you made this low over here, and then you got a little double test. Generally, I like my double tests to be a little more closer together than that. I mean, that happened at, when did that happen? That happened at 3 or 4 o'clock in the overnight, and now we're at noontime, so that's a long way. I don't really trust it that much, but it is still a second entry. It still is a little failed break lower below that last low. You're still a long way away from the EMA, and this is where you might catch a major low. So with that being a second entry, you might take it. And of course, then we move up, and you come back and you get a higher low right here. Again, it's not a true reversal pattern. We actually did break lower right there, but that's still really all one move. So technically, you could say that's a failed second entry short. It's just not a very good set. Let me make this a little bigger. It's so hard to see. Notice we're moving up first entry, and then you get a second entry. And that's the first break of that. We're not back to this trend line yet. We'll probably get another leg at least like that one. It's what you would think would probably happen right here. And notice how it's bouncing back inside that trend channel line. And off it goes. It's still not a very good setup. So, and of course, now you make 2 legs up, and you get a second entry way up here. But I'd want to wait on a lower high, which doesn't come to here. And then you're kind of going short right here at the EMA. You really could argue for this one, because by now you can tell really where the midline is here, and this is looking like a range day. And this really is the first break of this channel, but you got such a big overshoot, you may not get a move to a new low, even though we do end up getting that. You don't know that. So really you could argue for that one. I'll go ahead and at least make it green. But the better play is to wait on the failure. Notice how we push through the EMA, pull back, and get another negative bar. That's the better place to enter. And you can see it takes on off and goes all the way back down to the lows this time. And you get a break. There's a lower high here, too close to all that support. And you get another one of those lows similar to that one. But this is a much bigger bar, so wait on a higher low, which we get here. But it's not it's a bullish bar, but it's not as what you like. Then you get an inside bar, and so then you don't, now you got 3 or 4 bars stacking up. So not a great place to enter. Wait and see if you get a reversal pattern. And this is a double bottom, so first entry, second entry. I like going long there. And there's a hidden second entry long there, counting off the highs as well. Notice you move down, back up, back down. If you went to a slightly lower chart, you'd see a clear second entry there. So a couple reasons to like that one, and it does take on off. Moves on up. You don't want to be entering up here into the upper side of your trend channel. Comes back first entry, and by the time you get a second entry that breaks forward, you're just going sideways there. You definitely don't want to go long out of that, even though it looks like there's a little failure there. But it goes higher. The main thing is you don't want to go long right into that midline. And notice that it fails right there. And so you got a clear failure there on 2 attempts to go higher. Um, if you've got enough room to get back out from here, I like taking that one. Doesn't end up mattering because it takes off, but you want to have at least have enough room to get out here. And this thing just drops on down. It takes you into the 2 o'clock hour. There's a second entry short right here, and it's really kind of congested, but it's basically a failed breakout too. So if you had a bearish bar, you might go short right there. There's not much room here, so you'd have to have something real small up here. And I doubt your chart's going to be that much different than mine. So, and that takes you in the 2 o'clock hour. So, you know, it wasn't a great trading day, but there were some trades here. There's quite a few trades. You just had to be a little patient, and you had to watch some nice moves go without you. I mean, really, you almost had to watch this move go without you. You had to watch this move go without you. Another bounce here. And it's just, there's just no getting around that. If you want to, you know, if you want to make, if you want to, you know, play it safely and be conservative, make sure you don't have a lot of losses. That's what you have to do. You have to be able to sit patiently and just watch some moves go without you. It's unfortunate, but this was a different kind of day because we had a real clear 2-tiered channel working up, and it looked like it was going to be in play, but this market just doesn't want to go higher right now, so it ends up going mostly sideways. And again, we closed like right in the middle of that range, and we're still kind of working higher at this point. So, but that's what I saw today. Again, kind of quiet day. Had to be patient. And notice there was a gap here. And so we moved up, and this is where we closed, and this is where we opened. There wasn't much of a gap on the daily chart there, to be honest, but you had this gap on this chart. So prices did come back and fill it, but they never could get to working higher again. So, but anyway, that's what I saw. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.